Good morning. My name is Louise O'Hara-Murray and I am leading the team developing the new National Marine Plan 2 for Scotland, or NMP2 for short. At the ScotMER Symposium last year, we focused on marine planning in Scotland and gathering your thoughts on the current National Marine Plan. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to return, and we'll be focusing on the progress we have made over the past year on the new NMP2 today. We have combined the really useful insights on the existing National Marine Plan we received at the ScotMER workshop last year with feedback in our statutory reviews and from other stakeholder events. This has allowed us to identify several key themes which are shown on the slide. To pick out a few, the current plan does not account for new net zero sectors such as hydrogen or the increased competition for marine space, and there is a desire for more spatially explicit policies. Finally, the number of policies and lack of cohesion or primacy in the policies makes the current plan challenging to implement. We have conducted a strategic appraisal of the existing National Marine Plan, evaluating each policy and objective, and combined this with feedback received, advice from the First Minister's Environment Council, and our legal requirements and Scottish and UK wider government commitments. The strategic appraisal of the current plan has helped us to draw together the key aims for the new National Marine Plan 2. Through the NMP2, we will further the sustainable development of Scotland's seas by developing a new planning framework which supports our transition to net zero and action on climate change mitigation and adaptation and addressing biodiversity loss. We will be adopting a blue economy approach to the plan. This means considering our marine economy, our local communities and the environment all together. The new plan will help reduce the likelihood of conflict for marine space, and it aims to safeguard sustainable marine sectors, recognising the importance of sectors such as fishing to our coastal communities. The new NMP2 will continue to provide the planning framework for our licensing and consent decisions, and it will set the context for our sectoral and regional planning in Scotland. A key difference in our approach to NMP2 is that we are developing the implementation of the plan and the monitoring and evaluation framework alongside the policies for the plan. We have developed a new structure for NMP2 to support our policy development. The NMP2 will continue to support the UK-wide vision for healthy and productive seas, but we will also be supporting our blue economy vision for Scotland, setting a series of national level objectives which deliver on the blue economy outcomes. These national objectives will be delivered through sector and area-based policies and plans. To operationalise this approach, improve the usability of the plan and cohesion in the policies, we are adopting a new area-based structure for the plan. Similar to the place-based approach used in terrestrial planning here in Scotland through our National Planning Framework 4. This will allow us to better reflect the different context, sectors and the unique communities around the coast of Scotland. We are adopting a blue economy approach to our assessments, and this will be used to frame our sustainability appraisal. We are conducting a strategic environmental assessment, habitats regulation appraisal, and a social economic impact assessment, so that we can understand the potential impacts on the environment, on marine sectors, and on communities from the proposals in the new NMP2. We will be conducting the assessments in parallel to the policy development so that we can update the plan in response to any findings from the assessments and introduce mitigation measures wherever possible directly into the plan. We have developed draft national objectives for the NMP2 over 7 key themes, and thank you to everyone who came to our National Planning Forum in Edinburgh in June to help us develop those themes. Our new draft high-level objectives reflect the national level ambition for marine planning in Scotland, and they will support the delivery of our blue economy outcomes and wider national outcomes. The objectives are shown on the slide. So responding to our twin crises on climate and biodiversity loss, we have objectives on climate change mitigation and adaptation, ecosystem health, protection and enhancement, and supporting our marine economies, we had 3 objectives promoting sustainable development, including looking for opportunities for coexistence and safeguarding sustainable marine sectors, all aiming to help reduce the conflict for marine space. We have included an objective to recognise the importance of supporting and safeguarding sustainable marine economies to our coastal and island communities, and acknowledging that we all benefit from the coast and the sea, we have included an objective to promote well-being through inclusion and access. We had a 6th objective highlighting the value of our marine and coastal heritage here in Scotland, and new for NMP2, we are including a cross-cutting theme on implementation, introducing new objectives on how the plan will be used and on the monitoring and evaluation of the plan. We remain committed to our vision for engaging stakeholders throughout the development of NMP2, and we want everyone who uses, relies on or has an interest in Scotland seas to have the opportunity to contribute. So we have set up our public forum and our cross-sector steering group and are using our strategic partnerships to reach as many interested stakeholders as possible, including young people and coastal communities. We will be sharing draft outputs as they become available, well ahead of full public consultation on the draft NMP2 and assessments. We would like to co-design the policies as far as possible with you all, which means the proposals in the plan can be iteratively updated to reflect the feedback that we receive. So far, we have published our stakeholder engagement strategy, completed the strategic appraisal of the current plan, started the assessments of NMP2, including a public consultation on the scope of our strategic environmental assessment in the autumn, and started developing the plan. What's next? So over the next few months, we will be sharing the high-level objectives and holding a series of events to seek your inputs into the planning policies. If you would like to get involved, please do contact us to join our distribution list. And we are really pleased to be holding a workshop tomorrow at the conference. I look forward to seeing many of you there. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Fiona Munro, and I'm the team lead for Sectoral Marine Planning within the Scottish Government Offshore Wind Directorate. And today I'll be giving an overview of sectoral marine planning for offshore wind in Scotland. So marine planning in Scotland is governed by the 2 Marine Acts, and these include the Marine Scotland Act 2010 and the Marine and Coastal Access Act 2009. We also have the first National Marine Plan, which was adopted in 2015, and this is a statutory document providing the overarching policy framework, and it guides our use of marine space and resources. Now, the existing National Marine Plan was reviewed in 2018 and then in 2021, and the conclusion was that there is a need to update the National Marine Plan to better reflect emerging issues. Currently, this plan is going through the process of being updated. Now, under the National Marine Plan, we also have 3 regional marine plans that are in development, and these are for the Orkney, Clyde, and Shetland marine regions. And regional marine plans are not required to be developed. However, where they are, these become statutory plans once adopted. Now, we also have sectoral marine planning, with a sectoral marine plan for offshore wind that was published in 2020, and this was for commercial scale offshore wind energy in Scotland, covering both Scottish inshore and offshore waters. And the sectoral marine plan is also in the process of being updated through the iterative plan review process. And it also is going to be covering the innovation and targeted oil and gas, also known as INTOG projects, which I'll speak about in more detail. Now, at a high level though, what is sectoral marine planning? Well, it's an integrated process bringing together various aspects, including planning, strategic environmental assessment, habitats regulation appraisal, socio-economic impact assessment, as well as the statutory consultation process. And the sectoral marine plan delivers plan options for sustainable development, and it also provides a plan-led approach that supports the Crown Estate Scotland through its leasing rounds of the seabed. The current sectoral marine plan, adopted in 2020, identifies sustainable options for future commercial scale offshore developments. So these are projects larger than 100 megawatts. And sectoral marine planning supports seabed leasing, which in Scotland is managed by the Crown Estate Scotland. The sectoral marine plan, currently from 2020, identifies 15 plan options for development of this commercial scale offshore wind projects. And the updated sectoral marine plan that's being developed will support both the projects from the ScotWind leasing round as well as from the innovation and targeted oil and gas leasing round. So from this diagram, you can see that sectoral marine planning process is an integrated process that brings together marine spatial planning and the required legislative assessments. For example, the strategic environmental assessment, habitats regulation appraisal, and socioeconomic impact assessment, as well as statutory consultation. Now, this process is iterative, which provides opportunities to work flexibly, and so it allows things like evidence-based changes, as well as in order for us to be able to consider and incorporate outcomes of ongoing future research and also monitoring programs into our planning as they happen. It also provides an opportunity for an important avenue of collaborative working between stakeholders, such as governmental bodies and non-governmental bodies and industry, on research issues to inform decision-making processes at both strategic and project levels. So these maps illustrate the planning process for the 2020 Sectoral Marine Plan. And it shows from the initial areas of search with this initial map that were based on the opportunity and constraint analysis, and then moving towards the plan options, which after the public consultation were adopted in the final Sectoral Marine Plan that was published in 2020. So the 2020 Sectoral Marine Plan was followed by the ScotWind leasing round, which resulted in seabed option agreements for 27.6 gigawatts of capacity. Now, this was almost 3 times the gigawatt capacity originally planned for and assessed for in the 2020 Sectoral Marine Plan. Parallel to this, another leasing round was undertaken in response to the North Sea Transition Deal, with the aim to attract investment in innovative offshore wind projects in Scottish waters, as well as help decarbonise North Sea operations. So still at an early planning stage, these innovation and targeted oil and gas round resulted in 13 projects being offered exclusivity agreements for up to 5.7 gigawatts for the targeted oil and gas projects and 500 megawatts for the innovation projects. Now, this increase in planned development meant that the 2020 Sectoral Marine Plan needed to be updated in order to assess the impact that has, at this heightened level of development, would have on the marine environment and users. So there has then been the Sectoral Marine Plan Iterative Plan Review Call for Evidence, and this has allowed us to update the information on several projects. It's also fed into the Iterative Plan Review assessments that are being drafted currently, and it's meant that we'd be able to update things like potential capacities, the density, and additional information, such as around where cable routes are known. We're therefore producing an updated Sectoral Marine Plan to cover both these plans, ScotWind and innovation targeted oil and gas projects, to account for this increased capacity. This map shows the offshore wind development in Scotland currently, including developments in the various stages, as well as the ScotWind option agreement areas and the INTOG innovation target oil and gas exclusivity agreement areas. In terms of how we're working now, we're a relatively new team, and we've had consultants assist us on developing associated assessments for supporting and developing the updated Sectoral Marine Plan. So we work closely alongside the Scottish Marine Energy Research Programme, ScotMER, as it is a Scottish Government initiative that identifies and addresses key evidence needs to help lower consenting and planning risks, and disseminates that evidence back into the renewable and academic sectors. They do a lot of great work through collaboration and engagement with academics, industry, statutory nature conservation bodies, and environmental non-governmental organisations, as well as across Scottish Government. And ScotMER seeks to improve our understanding of the potential impacts of offshore wind and facilitate consenting and planning, which also supports our marine planning work. So thank you for having me today, and I look forward to any questions.
Hello, for those I've not met before, my name is Zoe Crutchfield and I manage the Scottish Government Marine Directorate Licensing Operations Team, or MD-LOT as we are better known. We are the team who make recommendations to Scottish ministers on whether to consent or not offshore renewable energy projects. We also make decisions on all types of marine licence applications, such as ports and harbours developments and other marine licensing projects, which will all be needed to deliver offshore renewable energy developments in Scottish waters. We are facing a significant increase in marine licensing and consenting applications. These are mainly associated with the ScotWind and Innovation and Targeted Oil and Gas, or INTOG, Crown Estate Scotland leasing rounds. So we really need useful research outcomes now. ScotWind, INTOG and other offshore renewable energy projects, either consented and constructed or those in the application pipeline, represent a huge opportunity for Scotland to reach net zero, minimising climate change impacts and also securing supply chain economic benefits. But we need to make sure the right projects are consented in the right places. Scottish ministers want to protect the marine environment and other sea users, as well as facilitate good development proposals. MD-LOT base decisions on the information contained within marine licence or Section 36 applications, which will include environmental impact assessment reports and information to support habitat regulation appraisals. We take account of the feedback provided by statutory and non-statutory consultees as part of the consultation process undertaken on individual applications. I can't stress how important this element of our work is in terms of providing Scottish ministers with a robust recommendation, which takes into account not only the applicant's submitted information, but also the views of a whole range of organisations, from those representing marine conservation, such as our colleagues at Nature Scot, to organisations representing other marine users, such as the commercial fishing industry. So one of my asks is for you all to collaborate on research. We all instinctively tend to stick within our own groups. I have worked in a variety of roles. I've been a nature conservation advisor, a wind farm developer, a consultant, and now I'm a regulator. And I know that when undertaking all those roles, I tended to talk more with those doing similar roles than those outside that circle. We have to work with everyone involved. Academics need to talk to the consultants preparing impact assessments, regulators need to talk to academics, researchers need to talk to developers and stakeholders. So, seek the collaboration opportunities, publish your papers, make time to attend events such as these to communicate and share your knowledge. There might be some challenging conversations along the way, but please embrace them. MD-LOT must also take into account the wider policy framework set out by the Scottish Government. So information contained within the National Marine Plan, which Louise and Rachel have told you about, and the Sectoral Marine Plans, which Fiona has provided an update on. Other relevant government policies include the Offshore Wind Policy Statement, the Scottish Biodiversity Strategy, and the Energy Strategy Just Transition Plan, to name but a few. We want to deliver the best results possible for all interested parties, so please think about how your research can inform these wider policies. How can we achieve the win-win of developing offshore projects that benefit the marine environment and minimise impacts to all users of our sea? So what else does the licensing and operation team need from research? I would love it if the LOT team could spend more time digesting research, but we simply don't have the time and staff resources to do that. This means we need you all to help us make sure the best available evidence is provided and assessed, either through the sectoral marine planning process or through individual applications submitted and the associated consultation responses we receive. We need research outputs that can be easily understood and translated and used in planning and consenting processes, and we need this now. I really can't stress this enough. MD-LOT are already processing the first ScotWind and INTOG applications, and there are many more applications expected this year and in 2025 and 2026. Decision making will not stop whilst research projects deliver. We will continue to make determinations on projects based on the best available evidence at the time. Of course, always making it clear to Scottish ministers any gaps in evidence or risks this presents, but decision making on projects will need to continue. For MD-Lot, a focus for research is how to reduce uncertainty in the impact assessments submitted in support of wind farm and other types of application. Often the mantra is about reducing precautionary approaches, but I'm going to change that a little to be more about making sure we are all applying precaution in the right places. MD-Lot want to ensure that all environmental receptors, be those biological, physical or human, have been properly assessed, where available appropriate mitigations for any impacts are applied, and that Scottish ministers are basing their decisions on accurate impact assessment conclusions. Another big challenge when assessing projects is potential cumulative and in combination. I spent most of my working life thinking about how we can do this effectively and efficiently, and I definitely don't have the answers. Well, not yet, but I'm hoping one day. The difficulty with much of our cumulative assessment is it is based on a lot of modelling, which needs to take into account uncertainty, and this leads to precaution, which is sometimes necessary, but other times perhaps not. So my ask to you is that we all try our hardest to ensure that everyone understands how to interpret the outcome of research projects. This includes an understanding of how uncertainty has been dealt with during any research and analysis, and a real understanding of the limitations of any research conclusions. For instance, the baseline data used and what ground truthing of model outputs has been undertaken. I hope you all enjoy and learn lots over the coming days in terms of ongoing research being delivered through ScotMER and other forums. It would be great if you can all consider how we can turn research into outcomes that can be effectively used in the forthcoming ScotWind and INTOG application processes and other projects. Oh, and if we could do that very quickly, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Coleen Murty and I work for the Offshore Renewables Evidence team, which lie within the Offshore Wind Directorate, so I help support the coordination of the Scottish Marine Energy Research Programme. So this is an update on behalf of the ScotMER programme, which is the Scottish Marine Energy Research Programme. So I'll cover what the programme is, the receptor groups we engage with, the activities that we've participated in over the past year, and then I'll provide a forward look. So what is the ScotMER programme? The Scottish Marine Energy Research Programme is a Scottish Government initiative that works to identify and address key evidence needs which aim to inform the consenting and planning decisions associated with marine renewable energy. The main objectives of ScotMER are to identify the evidence needs, undertake targeted research and communicate research outputs back into the renewables and academic sectors via several communication streams. The programme undertakes a collection of scientific research projects to promote the sustainable development of offshore renewable energy. This ensures that the best available science is being used when considering planning and consenting of offshore renewable developments that contribute to a low carbon future while protecting Scotland's marine environment and other marine users. The programme adheres to the policies set out in Scotland's National Marine Plan. So, for example, General Policy 19 states that decision making in the marine environment will be based on sound scientific and socio-economic evidence. So the National Marine Plan was reviewed in 2021 and the Scottish Government's progressing an update with National Marine Plan 2, which is currently under development. So the ScotMER programme focuses on 7 key receptors which cover ornithology, diagenous fish, marine mammals, fish and fisheries, benthic ecology, physical processes and socioeconomics. Each receptor also has a designated group consisting of a wide range of stakeholders that we engage with every year. So members are from academia, industry, statutory nature conservation bodies, environmental NGOs, so non-governmental organisations, other regulatory bodies and also internal Scottish Government colleagues from across marine science, planning and licensing. Each receptor also has a designated evidence map outlining the evidence needs in that respective research area. The evidence maps are available on the ScotMER webpage. So here I'll summarise the ScotMER activities that took place over the past year, and I'll start with the ScotMER evidence maps. So the ScotMER evidence maps, which span the 7 receptors which I just went over, they underwent a big review last year so they were updated to reflect the evolving research landscape. The evidence maps are developed with the ScotMER receptor group members, so we have stakeholder input to help us understand these evidence needs and how they can be addressed. The maps are kept under continuous review and are updated and maintained throughout the year to ensure they accurately reflect the most up-to-date gaps in evidence. The maps have just undergone a review in the last few months and will be published on the ScotMER webpage at some point this month. We also engaged in one set of receptor group meetings, which ran from spring to summer last year. So we had 7 receptor group meetings, 1 per receptor. So each group of stakeholders met up to discuss the key evidence needs considered a high priority on the ScotMER evidence maps. And these discussions that took place during these meetings helped inform high-level research ideas, which were then taken and developed into project ideas internally. We then, in late summer, triggered a process called the Projects Board process. So the ScotMER Projects Board consists of a group of internal and external stakeholders who consider and provide feedback on the project ideas which have been developed based on the current evidence needs. The Projects Board help prioritise the project ideas and provide recommendations on project idea progression for the forthcoming financial year. And so, as I mentioned, the evidence produced by ScotMER is made available to external audiences. This is an outline of the programme's previous and existing research activity. So, for example, we had 8 project reports published on the Scottish Government website last year. These are available on the ScotMER webpage. The programme currently has 15 projects which are active, 9 projects undergoing scoping, and 14 project ideas which were submitted to the Projects Board last year and then currently undergoing consideration for progression next financial year. We also undertake biannual meetings with the ScotMER Coordination Group. This group, like the others, consists of a combination of internal and external stakeholders. The aim of the ScotMER Coordination Group is to provide steer to help guide the strategic direction of the programme and maintain effectiveness and value of the programme and ensure that it aligns with the needs of offshore energy policy, planning and consenting activities, as well as ministerial priorities. Over the course of 2023, the ScotMER team also engaged with several virtual and in-person conferences around marine renewable energy and marine science research. So, for example, we attended All Energy in Glasgow in May, where we gave a talk. We also attended the Floating Offshore Wind Conference in Aberdeen in October. And we also attended MASTS, which is the Marine Alliance for Science and Technology annual science meeting in Glasgow in December, where we presented some of our work as well. So, as you know, we also run the ScotMER Symposium on an annual basis, where we engage with the community more broadly. The 5th ScotMER Symposium last year was a success. It attracted over 750 registered attendees from across industry, academia and public bodies, with representation spanning 25 countries. So after the success of ScotMER over the past year, we plan to continue engaging with our receptor groups to discuss research ideas based on evidence gaps considered a high priority on the maps. The programme aims to continue strengthening its links to other research programmes over the forthcoming year, and we also look to begin the scoping process for project ideas being progressed from the previous round of projects, the Projects Board. So thanks very much for listening, and I'll be around for the panel session if you've got any questions.